Okay, this video we're going to go through the Kzinti turn using the stuff that we've learnt so far. Now we're going to follow the normal sequence of play. So the first thing that is relevant at this point is determine your total number of survey points generated. So I've got 3 survey ships, I rolled 3 dice and I got a total score of 6, which isn't enough to expand our off-board empire. Determine the total income and the economic points. Yeah, it's done. So they have a gross total of 95 points there. So that's all recorded on the sheet. Declare missions for your tugs. There's only a few tugs, like units beginning TG, and only one of them can move a base. Well, one thing to remember about the first turn for the Kzinti is only the home fleet, the Duke fleet and the Count fleet are able to move. That's just a scenario restriction. Other things, shipyard phase, forget repairs because there's nothing to repair. Right, production, receive new units and assign the site where they're built. So site is pretty much always the capital, just assume it's the capital. Alright, we're not going to do anything but build the standard construction set, though you can actually spend double points to build other things, but we won't be doing any of that. Okay, so we look at the Kzinti, we look at construction. It's fall for year 168, so I can get a battle cruiser, destroyer and 2 frigates. Oh, that's not very good, not compared to the Lyran production. Okay, so I've got my production and I'll just deploy those at the home world where the home fleet is. Now I could actually have built more ships using accelerated production, but that costs double the amount to actually construct them. So the next thing I need to do is go and find out how much those particular ships cost, and so I can record it on the economics track. So we've got a battle cruiser which is 8 in cost, a destroyer which is 6. Right, so that's 14 in total, and 2 frigates, that's 5, that's 19 in total. So I can go to my economic sheet and adjust my construction, put -19 in there, and then depending whether I use any of the rest of this, which I won't do, we then adjust down the total by 19. Okay, so that's the end of anything that in the production that's relevant to this turn. Next, go to operations, operational movement. So we'll just show you the supply for your operational movement. No, just excuse me while I walk around the table. Right, as we've mentioned, only the Count, Duke and Home Fleet can move this turn. Home Fleet is on the home planet, so that's part of the primary network. The other one here, Count, you can go from home world to that star base, then to the Count, so it puts them in supply. Sorry, home fleet is over here, so that's the, just excuse that. Home fleet is there, So that can draw directly from the home planet. As I said, you can go home to Starbase to count, it's fine. And the Duke can also go from there, home fleet to home planet to the Starbase there. So that's in supply. When anyone wondered what that is, that's actually one of the really old sort of miniatures that come with this game, because you can actually play well, you can play Federation Commander, you can play Star Armada, there's a couple of games that you can play using these this timeline and miniatures. There's at least 3 different, I think there's 4 different points. You could, even if you were completely mad, play Starfleet battles. Well, the next thing we could do is we can use our operational movement. So most of these ships have a movement range of 6, apart from things like fleet repair docks that can only move 1, or they could move 3 if they were being towed by tugs. So really I've got to decide how I respond to the Lyran attack. I've got to think about the Klingons and what they could do. So before I move, I need to sort of look at these fleets and sort of, you don't want to move, even though there's no like stacking limit, you don't want to move huge numbers of ships that aren't going to be doing anything effective. Because as I've said, it's up to you. The ship, the flagship here, which I'm going to use this dreadnought here, which has a certain number of command points. I believe that's 10, so it can actively command 10 other ships plus itself. So there's no point. Well, you can use other ships and stick them in reserves, but are they using those effectively? Wouldn't it be more sensible to deploy those to other hexes to restrict the enemy's lines of attack? So what I'm going to do is we're going to do off camera. We'll sort of organise these fleets and then make our movements. Okay, what we've done is not particularly aggressive move, which is something we can't really afford. We know we've sent some ships to provide a little bit of a mobile screen in front of the King's fleet there. The Duke fleet is going to remain as it is. We'll mark it as a reserve fleet as well. Move some tugs and stuff, moving mobile bases and fleet repair depots to the front. We deployed the home fleet here, which is not creating a battle, but just preventing a block for the Lyrans. And we've also sent some other units to beef up the Count fleet because that wasn't very strong. So not aggressive moves. I don't think the Kings can afford to be aggressive because the Klingons, I believe the Klingons join the war next. I'm not sure, but got to be careful. Now the Lyrans have got some reserve fleets there, so they could actually create a battle hex if they wanted in the reserve movement section. I'm going to say they didn't because we're waiting for the Klingons to get involved. Okay, I've done my operational movement for the Kints. Reserve movement, as I just said, the Lyrans are not going to decisively engage into the Klingons into the fight, which is definitely next turn. So there's no combat. Retrograde movement. Yeah, I could move the two Kins fleets back to that star base. No, I'll leave them where they are, to be quite honest. Field repairs, not applicable, so nothing needs repairing. Strategic movement. There's nothing I want to move by strategic movement. Okay, in terms of strategic movement, it's one thing I didn't mention in the movement tutorial, though I suspected it from reading into the rules, that you can't have moved by any other means. So if you've moved by operational movement, you can't use strategic movement. So the only forces that really haven't done anything are the some of the ones in the Duke fleet, which is near the Klingon border. So I'm not going to use strategic movement for those. I can establish my reserve. So as I've said, I've already marked 2 of my fleets as reserve. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my home fleet, which is the much more powerful one, as a reserve instead of the count one. And that's it for the Kins turn. Now, I'm sorry about all the shaky camera work and messing around everything. It was a bit of a difficult thing to film because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. That shows you how you can play a turn quite easy, and we could have extended that to a combat if we'd wanted to, and with no great rules overhead just to do that. So it shows that you can approach this slowly, in little baby steps.